It has been another Barry Crocker for Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull this past week, with another one of his tax plans shot down, but also has another problem on his hands, and that is Tony Abbott once more throwing darts from the sidelines. New polls have revealed that 2/3 of voters want Mr Abbott to end his political career.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going away for him, that one. Joining us to discuss this, we have 2GB's Chris Smith and journalist Shelly Horton. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
So the majority of Aussies think that Tony Abbott wants his job back, but only 12% think he's in with a chance. What do you reckon?
I can't ever see a time, and I hate saying ever, but I can't ever see a time that Tony Abbott becomes Prime Minister again. I think if in the unlikely episode or unlikely scenario where we have Malcolm Turnbull losing the federal election this year, and he's doing a really good job to try and lose it, if that is the unlikely scenario, I think they'd go for someone new. The problem is, and this is very reflective of the polls today, what we're seeing today is really a mirror image of what we saw when he was Prime Minister. The left don't like him, the left want him to go, and the coalition is split 50-50, as they were when he was Prime Minister. So there's, the alignment's, almost exact. So do you go back to someone who's only really ever cut it with Liberal supporters by about half? I don't think you ever do. So in answer to the Tony Abbott coming back and Lazarus with a quadruple bypass, I cannot see it happening. But I can also see, what I can see happening now, because Malcolm Turnbull's doing such a wonderful job at, a thought bubble-a-thon at the moment, I can see Bill Shorten becoming the Stephen Bradbury, as I've said before, of Australian politics.
So just to pick you up on that, Chris, if well, hypotheticals here, but if Labor does win the election, would it be a case of perhaps Labor not necessarily winning it, but the coalition losing it?
Yeah, oppositions aren't selected, and in particular, opposition leaders are never elected. Never elected. Forget about ever reading anything about Bill Shorten's polls leading up to the election. That means nothing. People, it's only in his electorate that they need to vote for him to be an MP. We don't vote for the opposition leader. He can really do this. And if you've got Malcolm Turnbull saying, I've got another thought bubble for you, something that we haven't given due diligence to, or we haven't even confided in other people about, if he continues to do that, he will lose.
Well, just on that, Labor's Jason Clare made a great line about Turnbull's policies lasting as long as Britney Spears' first marriage. Shelley?
Slow clap for that analogy. I mean, that's fantastic.
It was clever.
I wished I'd thought of it. It's so true. I kind of get this feeling with Malcolm Turnbull that he's got these big political changing ideas that's all about politics. He's not thinking about the people. He's not thinking about the voters. I don't care if our tax is decided on a federal level or a state level. I want to know how much tax I have to pay and how much of my income is going to be, going out of my pocket. I think he's been such a thinker for so long that he has all these ideas that he's probably thought about for ages, but we're not aware of them. And like you were saying, they come across as thought bubbles and they're popped and disappearing. And I really think I'm feeling so disappointed in him because I was such a fan for such a long time and I lived in his electorate and I honestly, he was so pro-gay marriage, he was so forward-thinking, and yet once he's in power, he's towing the party line and he doesn't seem to be talking to anyone else. I'm worried that the power has really gone to his head. He's becoming a little bit Kevin Spacey in House of Cards, where he's got these ideas and no one else is aware of them.
How surprised have you been at that decline? Because remember when that leadership challenge was announced, Turnbull came out with gusto, and he was almost silver-tongued the way he was speaking really well, and now he's kind of doddering along. It's
been a dramatic decline. It's been a shock. A shock to those who've loved him and hated him. Even those who've despised him and thought this won't work are shocked at this decline into this abyss. How dare... Any politician worth their salt doesn't 8 weeks out from a possible election talk about, well, under this plan, states can reduce your tax, but they can also up your tax as well. This is D-grade or Z-grade political nous. And this is Malcolm Turnbull. What a disappointment, what a dud.
Well, you're losing the key messages, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And you're allowing Labor to create one of the most devastating television platforms for an election campaign ever. Repeat that repeat that line from Malcolm Turnbull. Well, your taxes could go up from the states as well. Thought bubble, thought bubble, thought bubble, and back to Britney Spears.
Yeah.
We may even get a picture of Britney Spears in the TV campaign.
Maybe Britney when she went, a bit crazy in 2007
shaved
with
her
the
head.
umbrella and shaved her head. Like, this is where it's
The whole lot.
it's falling down to.
Oh, very good. Well, the Sunday Jury continues next, so don't go anywhere.